Okay, we are live. Good evening, sir. Good evening, ma. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm excited to be here. This is the day two of the SEND program, special needs awareness. Right. Yesterday we talked about autism, we talked about dementia, and today we are going to continue. And I believe that today will be very powerful. Mr. Eri has given us an idea that it will be a very powerful session. So, welcome everyone to this place. Once again, I am Adesua Oni, the stepped up nurse, and today has been a very long day for me. I'm so tired. I'm even hungry. But all the same, thank you everyone for being here today. We are very excited to have you on this call. So we are waiting for everyone to join us. We're waiting for you to join us. Please, if you join us immediately, please drop a message on the WhatsApp group where you belong and ask others to join us, right? Please ask others to join us. Let them know we are waiting for them, right? Thank you so much. We want to finish up on time today. By God's grace, we should be done by 8:30 Nigerian time. So please, let's join on time. I'm waiting for us. Okay. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Whew. Let me know if you can hear me. Okay. Okay. Miss Bumi, it's good to have you on the call.
Thank
Can you
you,
hear
Daddy.
me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. I want to be sure that others can hear me. Olaiton Favor, can you hear me? Okay, clearly. That is good. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. It's good to be here. Thank you, Miss Bumi, for joining us today. I think there's still one more guest that wants to join
Uh,
us.
I think what
Okay.
it is I'm trying to move into to change it to my laptop because I'm using my
Okay.
phone. So I'm gonna come off and come into my laptop. Is that okay?
It's okay. Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Please, if you are joining with your name, that's not the name you want to reflect on your certificate, please drop your name and let us know where you are joining us from, right? If you didn't join us yesterday and you're joining us today, this is an awesome welcome to you. So officially, the day 2 of the SEND program has started. I want to be sure that Mr. Eri can hear me.
I can hear you loud and clear.
Mr. Agbeyi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. All right. It's nice to be here. Yes, Miss Bolale Ojo, it's nice to be here. This is the day 2, and I am sure that this day 2 program will be very amazing. I want to bring on our fourth guest. Okay. Yes, we are live. We are live. We are very, very live now. So once again, I am Adeswa Oni, the stepped up nurse, and I want to officially welcome everybody to this session. Yesterday we started. Mr. Frederick, thank you for joining us. Thank you. God bless you. Please drop a message on the WhatsApp group. We want nothing less than 100 people on this call today. Please, if you missed yesterday's session, you should not miss today's session, please. And this information is for every every nurse, health professionals. Please drop a message and ask others to join us. I've dropped the link to join on all the groups. Please do well to join us because there's nothing like a live session. It will not be easy, trust me, to listen to a session that has passed already. You have to intentionally block out an hour, 2 hours to do so. Even for paid sessions, so many people don't ever go back. I'm a course creator. I have more than 10 courses that I've offered people. I know what I'm talking about. People find it difficult to go back to a session that is no longer live, except their life depends on it. So please enjoin everybody to join us so that we can finish up on time. This time yesterday, I was nearly even done with my own session, right? So yesterday I did an introduction of our speaker, and the introduction is a very, very powerful one, very long one. If you want to know everything I said, see, that intro can inspire you for the rest of your life. Like, it can be a source of inspiration for you. So please, I'm not going to repeat myself today. I want you to have a motivation to listen to yesterday's program. So please, you can just back up a little after this program and listen to yesterday's introduction so that you would know the person of our special guest that took us yesterday and that will also take us today. And then you also listen to the life experience from Miss Aishat yesterday. It was a very, very awesome one. It was the height of yesterday's program. You don't want to miss it. So please do well to have enough zeal and motivation to listen to yesterday's recording, because when this program is over, there will hardly be anyone begging you to listen to it, and you don't know what the future will bring if you would have to really care for people that have special needs, right? So please don't wait till something comes up before you start searching for answers. People say that opportunity falls in the hands of the prepared. So you're preparing yourself towards the future if you take this training and this program very seriously. So I'm glad to have every one of us here from Benin City. Thank you for joining us, Miss Oluchi Abigail. Thank you, Miss Bade Bo Oluwakemi. Thank you, Manuela Ovishere. Hey God, I hope I pronounce this properly. So our speaker for today that also spoke with us yesterday is a lead consultant at the EASE organization. Is an NGO, is an NGO in the England, right? That's organized this program actually, and is a lead consultant. He's also a registered nurse. He has a BSc in adult nursing. That is just the 15-second summary of his bio. So over to you, sir, Mr. Ahi. Please, you have the floor now. I believe we can start. Okay, let me say a word of prayer. Father, we thank you for today. We thank you for yesterday. We thank you for giving us life to meet again today. We don't take this for granted. Father, we thank you for the grace you have given the mothers, the carers, the family members of everyone living with dementia, with autism, with Alzheimer's, people that have special needs. We thank you for we that have all the abilities that we think that we have. Father, we pray that this session once again will be an impactful one for us in Jesus' name. In Jesus' name we have prayed. Amen.
Amen.
Over to you, sir.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming
Good evening,
on board.
sir.
Bumi, thank you for coming on board. Aisha, thank you for coming on board.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir, for the opportunity.
Sorry, your voice is low. I cannot pick your voice clearly.
Hello, can you hear me?
Your voice is far. It's far away.
Is it?
It seems okay, to be honest.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I can hear you clearly.
Okay. So probably it's that this was an end.
Uh-oh.
I hope everybody can hear me. They could just put a comment that they can hear me. That would be great.
I can hear you.
Aisha has put a comment there. Okay, people say they can hear me, so I'll go on. Thank you for yesterday. We're glad that people attended, and I believe a lot of people went home with something. Today we have another parent with us who is going to give us our own experience within 5-10 minutes. Any aspect she wants to talk about in our own experience will highly help the participants and even those of us who are moderating the whole show. So over to you, Bumi.
Trying to sort this out. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. Like I said, it's an opportunity to be able to share my journey with everyone here. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to reach out to the people as well in order to create the awareness of. I'm going to be speaking on basically about autism because that's the part of special needs that I know, and that's because my son has been diagnosed with autism. He got his diagnosis during the lockdown, and the journey so far. I always say that if you're not strong, something it's not even about it can fall on your lap, and when it comes, you just have to brace it. We lived in the I think when I didn't know that much about autism. I thought autism was it was you will physically see, you will see someone dripping, or you see them throwing tantrum and all of that. But it was way more than that, and I didn't have an understanding until it started to happen to me. So, like I said, we got diagnoses, and we lived in, I think for about a year and a half, we lived in denial because we didn't want to accept that we had people telling us that we needed to have him checked, but we didn't want, we just felt like, oh, he's the only boy, he's really small, he's quite young. And you know what they say about boys being laid back, where they take their time. And because we also had two older girls, so we were couldn't compare them, because we just thought girls are quicker and girls would do things earlier than the boys. But when we got the diagnosis, it was like everything came crumbling, because we didn't have an idea. We didn't even have relatives that have had autism, or maybe we do and we don't know. But and in this part of the world, it's really good because there is always support there. One of the things that has helped, I'm going to be very critical of the time that I've been given. One of the things that have helped during this journey is the network system that I've had. So I have, because I know he's there. I can't deny it. It's autism. He's been diagnosed. He needs help. So the last thing I want to do is to keep quiet, or keep him inside, or not to get the awareness or the knowledge or everything that I can get out there to support him. So I started to look for every support that I could get, anything autism, any social group, any WhatsApp group, any on Facebook, everything. And that was when I came about the Beyond Autism, and I'm glad that I was part of it. And so the network was great. The network would share information. The people were all vulnerable. We need help. We need support. No, they didn't come with the children. They didn't come with a manual on how to help them or how to support them or the intervention that we need to put in. So everyone that's gone through that journey are sharing their journey. They're sharing the things that have helped them. They're sharing the processes. They're sharing the best that they've been through. Um, I struggled because one, I'm a full time. I have two other young older children, and I work full time as well. And having a child with special needs, I know that he definitely needs time. But however, we need to the ends needs to meet. So I couldn't leave my job to take care of him, but I had to juggle a lot. Recently, I think about a few months ago, I had to call my employer to say that, and that's one of the things that has really helped. I was really open with it. I was open. I was honest. I wasn't shying away from the help that was available. I will go to any extreme to get help. So I told my employer, I said to them that I've got a child with special needs and I can't do full time. So, but I don't want to, however, I don't even want to lose that full time, the opportunities that come with full time as well. So I did say to them that I want to compress my hours. So they let me compress my hours so I could have time to attend meetings and to seek for help in every other area. And that has really helped. One of the things that have, because I'm going to really talk about the things that have helped my journey. And I'm not saying that I'm there. Obviously, I still attended a meeting today while I was at work virtually, because they were talking about things like deputyship. They were talking about EHCP. I don't know if a lot of people know about EHCP, but EHCP is a legal statutory plan that helps children with special needs throughout their journey in school. So it helps them to look at how they can support them, the things that the school have to be, the different assessments that they've had, and what the report is. And the school have to go through all of this. So sorry, I'm just picking everything from different ends as it comes to my head. But yeah, so all of the support, anywhere that I feel that I can get information are always there. There is an annual autism show in the UK. I was on in the last one just to get information about whatever I know that obviously because it's quite big. I never knew it was this big. It was quite big, and there are information out there that could help to support children. So I learned new things. I learned how to manage the social interactions, because these are the symptoms of autism. How to manage the behavior, how to manage the sleep as well, and where to go as well. Where exactly do we go when we need all of this help? So there is that bit. There's the bit of also. I think one of the things that I found challenging as well is that my older girls were asking the question why they didn't understand, and honestly I don't blame them because they haven't seen anything like that before, and they feel like why has he not, they were comparing him with his cousins, and they were like da da da, spoke at the age of why is he struggling, why is it that he needs all of the attention, why is he always throwing tantrum, why can he not talk? So I went through the process of having to sit down with them and explain, and they, honestly the first explanation they didn't get it, they just thought I was making up stories for him. Then I started to initiate bit by bit reading. I'll bring them some of the meetings that I have, or the programs that I attend. I'll bring them along. Sometimes I'll put it on. They can hear it in the different YouTube channels that has helped me. But the way they have explained it in a way that children will be able to understand, I've brought that up. I've sent it to a family link for them to be able to understand. And I think they're coming along bit by bit. I didn't expect it to happen overnight, but I know that with time they will come on board with me, and we will all do this together. It's a very, 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 very lonely journey. You can't do it by yourself, to be honest. And that's why I said I have all of the support group. My husband, on the other hand, he's lived in denial for a very long time. He doesn't understand. He was quite blunt because he said to me, "But I don't know. I can't do this. It's just too much." And I said, one of the things I said is that, well, someone's got to do it, and I thank God because I'm a person of faith. I haven't relent. I didn't relent. I didn't. I knew that as long as I keep at it, something is going to break through for us. I'm not saying that even if it doesn't get his healing away from autism, but all of the interventions that I got access, or the or or the system in the UK have, will support him. Will support him. He's 7 year old and he still have a long way to go. But so far, I think he's in a good place, to be honest, because we just try as much as possible to put in every support that we feel that is available for him. Um, I'm gonna talk a bit about him as well. When the journey so far, like I said, has been draining. So he will come home with different. Just this time alone, he's lost in 6 weeks. He's lost three jumpers in school, and that's because mommy always do everything. Mommy will make sure that everything is all right. But when he has to be independent, then he will just show everything off. So about of what we're doing now is how to help him to be more independent. And I think it comes with time and it comes with age as well. So bit by bit, we're helping him to do things by himself, and he's learning. One thing that I would not do is compare him with children that are neurotypical, because um they're different, and it is not, they're not yardstick for me. For me, is making sure that he's in a good place, he's happy, he's learning, he's making progress, he's achieving. And when I say achieving, I'm not just saying that academically, I'm saying that he's able to express himself, because that's a milestone. He's able to express himself, he's able to communicate. Sometimes it might not be verbal, but he's able to communicate his needs and his fears as well, to let us know what is going on up there. And it comes with time, it comes with dedication, it comes with leaving everything sometimes and just taking the time to listen and encourage him to talk, because If you there was a time I was speaking for him. So before he says it, I was there, I was doing it. But I just thought he's not gonna let that way. So I started to leave him to make an effort to say the words
Hmm.
before I now support him. Sorry, I'm talking too much. I don't know if anyone is raising their
You're not
hands.
talking too much, please.
So yes, yeah, so I think yeah, and that has helped because one of the things that we dealt with as well is echolalia, and echolalia is when you say something to them and they repeat it exactly the way you have said it. That means their brain is actually not processing it, and I didn't understand how to deal with that. I sent to them, I contacted the speech and language, and they didn't even have an idea. They know what echolalia is, but they just didn't have how will I put it? They just didn't have a remedy. They don't have anything that they feel like has helped. And I'm sorry, I'm really gonna go spiritual because then I felt like, you know what, if God does not help me, I'm not going to be able to do this because if the professionals do not know, then how am I supposed to know what to do to help him with that? Then I said to read about it. I said to help him to not to repeat my word, but you know what I mean. Like it's a brain thing. You can't get. It's one thing to be able to control what they're doing, but you can't control their brain. You can't control the way that they think or the things that they say. So every time he repeats what I have said, I will tell him, no, that's not the answer. You have to think about it. And it takes time. It takes patience. I'm not even a patient person at all. But he taught me how to be patient. So I will speak
Hmm.
to him. I probably will wait for about 3, 4, 5 seconds for him to say the word. And thank God for one of my daughters, because she will say to him, you need to say it properly, because she just does not accept yes or no. She will say to him, you need to say it properly. And then he knows that if he really wants this thing, then he needs to say it properly. And he will say, instead of saying water, he will need to, if he wants to get the water to my daughter, you can't just say water. Then he will now say, can I
Hmm.
have water, please? So then he will get water. So, but then I started to learn. Honestly, I started to learn from my daughter that you know what, you can actually get him, because then if he says water, I'm up, bro, to get water. But
Hmm.
as young as she is, she taught me to say, don't just accept water. He needs to say it the right way because he has the capacity
Hmm.
to be able to say it. And I learned from that. And then I stopped to just act immediately on impulse. And we started to get somewhere. So now he knows that he needs to make a proper set. And this is a child that is non-verbal, even up until the age of 5, 6, and now he started to say, can I have water, please? And now we have taught him as well that yes, you might want water, but the world does not revolve around you. You have to learn to wait. So he's now learning. It's difficult. He's not learning to do a bit of waiting. And I'm saying the waiting span will probably be like 10 seconds, but that waiting, he's fidgeting, he's moving, he's like, when is this going to come to an end? But we will get there. It's just a step at a time. We've been able to get him to say
Hmm.
a sentence, from not being able to say anything to a sentence, and to be able to wait as well, because we autism, they don't understand wait, they don't understand turn taking, they can't take turn, they just feel that they want it now, it's got to happen now. So that has helped. One of the things that happened today, which was really interesting, was that he came back to school, and he said that he wants his tablet, and I said, no, you're not having your tablet until you change your clothes and you have your dinner, and you're not gonna. So, and knowing me before, I would have given him, because I was at work. I was still working, but I was like, "No, you're doing it." He cried, he shouted, he screamed, and but I made him. I think it's discipline, and it comes with me as well. So I made him do all of that before he had his tablet. So routine actually works really well with them. One of the things that I've learned as well is the process of saying now and later. So you will have this now, um, but you have this later, but you can have this now. So that has really helped. So I said to him, you will have your tablet, but you have to eat your dinner first, then tablet later. And that has helped. That has
Hmm.
really helped. So I think it's all of these things. Nobody, we weren't taught, honestly. It's just hearing people, and people's story are different. It's a long spectrum. You don't know where your child
Hmm.
falls under. I've had people that say that children do not sleep, and I'm grateful to God that my sleeps. Some people say that their children do not
Hmm.
until like 3 a.m. and he has to get up at 7:30 to go to school. So you can imagine that kind of a child will be very, very unsettled when they get to school. But with mine, he sleeps well, and not that I'm doing anything extraordinary. The only thing I know that he snores, he can snore for the world. People downstairs. But it's a process because now we decide to well, we've gone to the GP to say that this is not normal. You don't expect a boy of 7-year-old to snore like a man of 50-year-old that is drunk. So and that's the thing. One of the things I say is that I'm open. I will talk about it. I'm not shy about it. It's calm. It's calm. I've accepted it. I've embraced it. I'm willing to share my story as long as there's somebody up there that's going to learn and is going to be really helpful. Because all of where I am now is because I have taken learned from people's experiences as well. I have taken on what people
Hmm.
have said and I've tried it. Not everything has worked, but the few bits that have worked has helped me in my journey. I'll take a bus now if anyone has any question or if there's any area you want me to talk more on.
Hmm. Wow.
Quite interesting. Um, Thank you very much, Bumi. I think you have captured everything in a nutshell, and I'm hoping that everyone who is listening actually are able to relate some of the things we talked about yesterday with
Mhm.
what you are saying. If we listened very well, there were some things. One thing that stood out in what Bumi has said is about I am not ashamed. And that's what I keep telling every family that I work with in the Nigerian space. I know the cultural differences between Nigeria and the United Kingdom,
Mhm.
but at the same time, there's an adage that they say back at home. They say, um, um, your pikin not fine. You know me say you go through where I'm with the bath water.
Mba.
Your child is your
Now
child,
so.
Mhm.
and you
Yes.
have to appreciate your child. Children are gift from God.
Yeah.
If there are complications in the process of development, it does not make them not your child anymore.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Somebody bought a new clothes from the market. As he was happy with the clothes he was wearing, and this clothes fit me so much, I love it. And as he moved from one point of the house to another, the handle of the door clipped on the cloth and it ripped it. Are you going to pull that cloth and throw it away? You probably will take it and patch it and sew it and
Yeah.
still enjoy the beauty of the clothes. And I use
Absolutely.
Hmm.
that analysis to explain to as many people in society, especially
Hmm.
parents, that you don't need to be ashamed of your child. Make the best of the situation that you have found yourself. You can control that aspect. The ones you can't control, you leave it. Let God do that if
Yeah.
you believe in God. If you don't
Mm-hmm.
believe in God, let the scientists do that. If you believe in professionals doing the whole job, then, but do not worry too much
Mm.
about it. It is, I am happy that you were able to express the pressure and the frustrations and the
Yeah.
denial that people go through. In nursing, we will agree that when you are diagnosed of a disease, you first go through a phase of denial.
Yeah.
Is this me? Why must this happen to? No, I don't think I have this thing. And you see patients
Hmm.
go through that stage of denial, and during that denial period, there is no therapy or treatment you want to offer that would suffice.
Yeah.
And I'm also happy that you came on board, and everybody listening would have been able to see the difference between the support we get in a developed country and the
Oh,
support we get in a place like Nigeria.
yes.
There is literally no support.
Mm-mm.
And so we are coming in as a charity, predominantly focusing on Nigeria and other African countries because we know there is no support. And when we designed the model that we used to support families, we decided that the primary carer in the home will be the one to do the job
Yeah.
because people don't have the economic power to say, I'm going to pay for an autism support worker to come into the home and do that support. Here in the UK, the government funds it from beginning to end. Some of them are put into special residential placements
Yeah.
and they are located resources.
Oh, yeah.
I have worked in a college where I have worked with people who are located £5,000 a month, I mean, a week. I have worked with people who are located £12,000 a week for their care.
Yes.
And it goes up depending on how challenging they are. And so, society, if here they can get that help, in Nigeria, there is nothing like that.
Mm-mm.
And the best way we can do it is to create this awareness, which we are doing now, and let people in the industry, the nurses, the teachers, the religious settings, and everyone in the people-oriented kind of job to begin to understand that these things exist. There are people who are suffering in silence over it and struggling. They have no clue of what these things are. They don't understand what it is, and they are just groping and groping and groping. Um, I have seen families who will tag them as witchcraft. I've seen
Oh, yeah.
families who the husband will say, which kind of child have you given to me? And all sorts of things in my experience in working with so many families. I have seen that. And when I am there trying to do an assessment for a child, at the end of the day, I start counseling the mother.
Yeah.
Because
Oh, great.
what now happens is
Two-edged sword.
the child doesn't really need, the assessment is no longer important because the person who is to carry out the instructions in the assessment is
Need
broken.
help. Yeah.
And so you need to heal that broken heart and move them up to be able to carry and support that child. There are some excellent families back in Nigeria there that I've experienced where the father, the mother, they mop in and they help. And so when there's that understanding with families, it makes it much lighter for just the mother, which predominantly is mostly the one that carries the burden,
Yeah.
the mother to carry those burdens. And so thank you for coming up and sharing your experiences. Your experiences cut across the triad of impairment, communication, social interaction, imagination, and the challenges
Oh, yeah.
individual child it can have on every child. The way it impacts your child is not probably the way it impact another
Absolutely.
person's child.
Yeah.
And every other co-occurring medical conditions, neurological conditions, or probably mental health conditions that is impacting them is
Yeah.
all fighting on that same human being. And within all that mud is a diamond that is hidden inside.
Yeah.
And for the parents to identify that diamond or for professionals to identify it and say, there is a gold mine here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's clean it up and bring it out. And that's where I want everyone on this platform to understand that it's not all gloomy and doomy and frustration and pressure
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
There is something good hidden inside that whole pressure.
Yeah.
But most in my experience, many people are not able to identify that goodness,
It is
especially
interesting. It's interesting that you say that, which is one of the things that we are going through at the moment. So, like you said, the UK has all of this. So, however, even with all of the assessments that you have access to and the EHCP, you still have to shout, you still have to scream, you still have to keep at it all the time. My son is going to a school now that he's just probably he's only left to say good morning, and they put a whole lot of rubbish right in front of him just to feed himself for the day. But I understand that this is I need to shout. I'm not going to take that because he's going to school is not enough. He's going
You know,
because it's not enough. I want to see that he's making progress because I know, and just like you said, there is a gold mine. There's something about those children. I enrolled him in a one-to-one sessions on the weekend, and he goes for extra classes, and it's amazing. If this woman had told me verbally of what my son can achieve, I would have said, "Oh, maybe she's making it up." But she does a recording,
Hmm.
sent me a recording, and when I look at the recording and I'm saying, "No, this can if not that because it's a recording, thank God for WhatsApp recording because it's a recording." I could not believe the way, and that's why you need the right people to be able to get the
Hmm.
best out of the children. And honestly,
Very
sometimes schools
important.
schools are not it. My like I said, my son goes to school where you would think that they don't even understand autism, even though they have lots of children with special needs. But
Yeah.
it's not their business. At the end of the day, they're doing their job. They will get paid, and the children is going to return back to their parents. But I am fighting for my child he's there until we get a better school for him. They have to do their job. So I'm constantly going to them to say that this is what this boy can achieve with the right intervention, with the right people, with the right teachers, and the ones. This is what he can achieve. Don't come back and tell me that all he did today was to draw and color a car. So
I think that is even fair. Here in this part of the world, I used to say that I might have had a hand in ridiculing someone's future when I was little,
Hmm.
because there would be children in the class who had maybe learning disabilities or autism of some
Hmm.
sort that was not known to the teachers.
Hmm.
And so the child would probably even have dyslexia and not be able to tell between letters or even see properly, and they would fail something and be called out to the class, and we will all be encouraged to sing Olodo Rabata,
Hmm.
and we would
See, let
sing
Yeah.
she know
Olodo
matter.
Terrible.
Rabata every
Terrible.
day to
Terrible.
that child who just needs a little bit of support until they
yeah,
become rebellious and they don't even care to improve anymore, and they actually become Olodo Rabata. So
Yes,
Hmm.
when
it's nice that you said that, Aisha. And I think in the generation in which I grew up, and I think most of you will find out that we're all guilty of that, isn't it? And those
yes,
listening to us, just scan when you were in school how teachers will encourage you to to taunt a child who is not doing so well, and say olodo rabata sí létí ló máa lò onílòwe mọ́, and we say all those kind of things, and it's so terrible that when you now look back, you can now see that, of course, if at that time, at that era, we never understood all those things. Now we're in this era,
yeah,
and we are now seeing these things coming up. Some of us are learning about them. Some of us are going into those professions, and we are now seeing that, oh, this are it. These things have improved from when they were then till now. But still, yet we know that there is no support back home. And that is what we want nurses to begin to advocate and to begin to talk about it
yeah,
and to begin to address it. You don't have to have £1 million or dollars to set up a school, just one person at a time. You're on your ward, somebody comes in and you notice, oh, this is the struggle, and just putting a pat on that person's back that it's going to be all right. That is the first step of awareness. When people can understand and appreciate that the families who have children with disability are also human beings, and it has happened that they have a child that has a disability, but that doesn't define them.
Yeah.
Your disability is not the definition of you, neither is it the definition of the child. The disability is just an aspect of the challenge the child is going through. And with necessary and adequate support, a lot of them can move towards independence. In the UK here, when I used to be actively working before I started doing consultation, I used to work with children and teenagers to pass the way you work with children in schools to pass GCSE and to pass WAEC or NECO. I was working with children on life skill basis to pass an exam they call the ASDAN qualification. And the ASDAN qualification is what they use in the UK for life skills. And so a government has been able to design special needs within the school setting, special needs for those who cannot cope academically. And I remember we used to draw curriculums for them to go and work in different organizations and learn work skills. So we assess them and they go to different organizations, learn work skills. And while they are learning those work skills, there is a worker, a social care worker, standing right there with them and showing them. For instance, they take a person who has autism and has been assessed to be able to maybe work like in a shop and stock shelves like in a Tesco shop or something. And there are companies who sign up to it. And we have a timetable, we take them there, and you as the support worker, you are showing them this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do. And some of them have been able to move from that point to gain employment.
Yeah.
And that's what we call independence. You have to look at functional independence and economic independence. So when you are able to move them to be able, those who are able to do it, to be able to get a job and get things. Somebody asked a question yesterday about, can an autistic person be a nurse? And I said, yes, as long as he's assessed and is above the average level to be able to do that job, why can't he? With the necessary support, then so this awareness is in a series and is to sensitize people in the space, in that Nigerian space, and by reference to Africa generally, that we can help, we can change the picture, we can make them understand that these things are needed in the society. And there are so many jobs some of these children can grow into, and they will become functional and independent. I remember there was a lady I worked with, not directly, it was more of an advisory role, and she wanted to marry for her child, basically. The boy has grown up, he had autism, he was on the low spectrum, and they got him a boys' quarter, they got him everything, and they wanted to marry him a wife because they felt if they marry him a wife, the wife will care for him. Unlike in the UK, where you can just get an admission and put the child in a residential placement, and he will get all the help he needs till adulthood, till old age. But in Nigeria, that's what the way the parents could think. Was it a bad thought? I would say it's a bad thought. I think it's a brilliant idea of the parents because they were after the fact that they needed the child to be cared for. After they
were they shifting the responsibility, or were they?
No, he was an adult already.
I
He wasn't
think
a child. He was an adult already. And you know the African context, they are hiding. That is where it becomes a problem. They are hiding. They want their child to have a picture of what society will accept.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this because of the reference of I'm not ashamed. I have to be an advocate for my child. And that is where we want people to begin to, explore and embrace, and not try to do things to cover things up. They were doing that because that is the environment in which they are living. And that's the best way they could understand it. And that's why I say I can't say it's wrong. But when you look deeper, will he be able to manage a home? Will he be able to stay with a wife?
Yeah.
And things like that.
Will the wife not run away from the house?
Yes, and things like that. So at the end of the day, it's a minefield. The world of autism, the world of disability is a minefield that is underexplored in Nigeria. And I think a lot of nurses need to start to try to embrace that minefield, and you'll be shocked at the immense growth and interventions that you can do to help these people.
Just to say something while you're still on this topic, I don't think it's just the medical practitioners only. I think we have a role to play. I think everybody have a role. Every citizen of wherever country have a role to play. One thing that we don't do is that we like you said, we try to ignore that aspect of things. And I call the churches into action at this point. There is an increase. Like in the UK, within the last 5 years, there has been a 37% increase of autism. That is just autism, not to talk of every other area. There is a need to actually create awareness among the people. So in Nigeria, not just one person raise a child, it's a whole community. So if I'm hiding my child and you're asking me, hey, this is my child, I said it's fine, people will start to gossip. Those are the things that those are the things that it's not even the child, it's not even managing the needs of the child alone. Is now you as a mother, you're not thinking about what people will say. How would they perceive me? What are the things that I need to, like you said, you need to conform to what it is out there so that you look okay, but you are actually not okay. So these are the things that we need to start talking about. The churches need to talk about special needs, how to support, come into it, because that's what Christ will do.
Yeah.
Can I just add something?
Yeah. Yes, Aisha,
there's
please.
also the whole cultural factor here.
Yeah.
I remember when I was speaking to someone who's got children that have autism also, and I said something about, oh, my son used to be here, but he has improved and is here. And after a while, she said, stop telling people that. You need to protect your son. And I don't blame her. This is Africa.
Yeah.
Someone will say, see how you are disgracing your child. You don't tell people such a thing. They will do you if you say something like that, if your son is getting better. Because they think it is something that can be treated. They will now go on to say, when your son is getting better, someone will come and do something so that he will go back. Don't say things
to return the child back to square one.
Exactly. So if he's improving, don't tell people. Don't talk about it and stuff like that. And you just mentioned that in the UK there's been a certain amount of increase in autism. In the UK they keep data. Here we don't keep sensors, and we still don't know the amount of children from the amount of adults and teenagers we have in this country. So it's almost it's everybody, including the government. The last time I took my son to the hospital, we went to one hospital in Lagos, a very popular hospital. We got there around 8 a.m. in the morning. The doctor saw us around 5 p.m. and he was using a torchlight at the time he got to us. So it's not just the community, it's the government, it's the people, it's our culture. It's the fact that we cannot let go of certain beliefs and superstitions. It's the fact that the education needs to start from the home, from the grassroots, getting your family to accept your child in the first place. I took my son to a family gathering. And I was going to go for a wedding the next day, so he was going to stay with my family members. I came home and he was tied to
Ah.
the burglary that was
Wow.
attached to the
Ọlọ́run
building.
ọba
And they said,
Ah,
"Oh, it's because you don't tie him that he's not sitting
this
still.
one.
If you tie him often enough, he will learn how to sit still." And I told the person that
Oh.
my son is not an animal. I'm not going to do that to him. And I didn't keep him here because I cannot take him out. It's just too hectic for me to take him out and also be breastfeeding his younger brother where I am. So
Hmm.
that was it. And I told my sister when we left there, I'm not coming back here. I'm not going to bring my son here again. But she didn't she understood. She felt bad. But if you're not living it, you will not understand. I've
Hmm.
been depressed. I've been depressed in this situation, and people still shamed me for being depressed.
Hmm.
People shamed me for saying I was depressed. People shamed me for
Hmm.
even saying my son was a certain way. And so I don't know how to cope, and I feel like this, and that's why I'm depressed. People shamed me for it. And so, as much as I want to talk about it, I'm also forced to not talk about it because they will not understand. I will then be shamed for it, and I will just feel worse than I felt before looking for someone to speak to.
Yeah, it is well. I think we have all heard the discussion, and I never planned that the meeting would go this way, but I'm glad it did because you are hearing from firsthand, and this is part of the awareness that these things are there, they are amongst us, they are in our society, and like Bumi said, and like Aisha said, the awareness is very important. And
Hmm. Very
a
important.
drop of water, another drop of water, gradually the ocean will get filled. And so I'm throwing a challenge to everybody listening that look,
Hmm.
understand what these things is. You don't have to know the science and the nitty-gritty about it, but the fact that
But
you
be
have,
empathetic. At least
yes,
be
an idea,
empathetic.
empathy, that's the word, be empathetic about it. And when you meet somebody who has a child with autism or any other form of disability, show kindness. Show kindness. I remember when I was in the university, my first university I went to in Nigeria. I remember I was walking down the road and there was this young lady. She was also a student and she was struggling with her wheelchair. Wheelchair wasn't very common, but she was struggling with it because it was a steepy slope. And I knew that this lady can make it. So I said, "Look, do you mind me helping?" And she said, "Oh, please." And so I pushed her up the hill. I wasn't very good at pushing wheelchair then, so I was literally struggling, but I eventually pushed her up the hill. And that's just because, not because I understood her struggles, but because I just felt this person needed help. And just
Hmm.
in that naivety, let us all try to help each other, especially the vulnerable in society. When you see them on the world, you see them struggling, just a hand of help. We talked about yesterday about equality and diversity and how companies and organizations need to start changing their culture from making a disabled toilet, from making a pathway for a wheelchair to move, for making a toilet that is suitable for somebody with autism and has sensory processing disorder, and things like that. We need to start talking about these things and acting about them when we have the opportunity to. I'm not expecting anybody to go out of their way and say, "Oh, I'm looking for people with disability." If you have the strength, fine, we welcome it. But in your little quarters, just show that empathy. I'm not saying show sympathy. There is a difference between sympathy and empathy. Sympathy is basically, hey, yeah, but you leave the
That
person
one's not
suffer.
okay. That's not okay.
That's not
Empathy.
what we're talking about. We're talking about empathy. You see somebody in a well, struggling to come out, go into that well and help him out. That's empathy. Getting involved. We'll draw the curtain for this session here now, so that we can look at other things within the next 15-20 minutes. Then we go into the questions. And if you have any
So there's
questions,
something I want to say before you start.
yeah.
Okay. So you
Yes,
said
yes.
something about all of us doing our parts in our little corners, whatever it is we can do. I think more awareness needs to go out. And every day I put out posts on LinkedIn. I have colleagues, other nurses that put posts out on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is supposed to be a place for professionals, intellectuals, and all of that, what have you. And then I have a team of nurses that post on Facebook too. I think the more we spread this message, the more word will go round. It's not something that is strange, but there has to be enough information in the system.
Yes.
For me to be, I've been in nursing practice for 15 years. And I've not learned all of these things I'm learning tonight. It means that information has not really gone around. My grandmother doesn't know what you're talking about. And my mother, I don't think my mom will know either. And if my mom knows, she would show sympathy. She would not show empathy. Because it's really difficult to empathize in this cultural setting. So people attribute a lot of things to witchcraft, attribute a lot of things to, oh, you did not do well, which drug did you take when you were pregnant, and apportioning blames. When the blame will not solve the problem, right? We need to create more awareness. I think if we put out content that is going to, because a lot of people read a lot of things, why is it a lot of gibberish that is shared on social media that goes viral? A lot of nonsense, things that don't even have head and tail. You just see people come online and start dancing and start saying errant nonsense, and it will go viral. Important things like this, even the person dancing, you don't even know if you will have an autistic child tomorrow, and you will never have time to dance in your life again. Even when you get to church, you will not have the morale to dance, because the problem when they your front self don't blind your eyes. When you had the opportunity to be enlightened, you weren't even seeing, because you were on social media doing something else entirely. So I believe that if I don't have money to give, if I don't have someone I'm directly caring for that has special needs, I can at least enlighten people about it, no matter how small the information is. You know, we are enlightening people about HIV, we are enlightening people about AIDS, we are enlightening people about HBSS, don't marry AA, don't marry BB, don't HBSS, don't marry this. The same way we should enlighten people about this. It's not like it's so very common, but we can destroy a lot of lives. After I watched that film, the link you sent to me about that man, that autistic
Steven
popular
Wilson.
guy like that. Yes, when I watched that film, I didn't even. I should commit that name to memory, because it's a name to remember actually. So when I watched that, I said, God has a purpose for every life. God has a purpose for every life, and we as humans, we can be the ones to destroy that purpose if we don't even know, if we cannot tap into it, if we never discovered it, if we never even knew there was anything, there was no gold mine to discover. You had shouted down the person, you had destroyed the flower before it had an opportunity to bloom. We didn't see anything. And in this country, even normal people are suffering. People that don't have special disability are suffering. People that don't have any special needs are suffering. They are even trying to see Gary to drink. Now, birthing a child, maybe the child has 3 elder sisters, and they've been looking up to God for a male child, and the male child suddenly comes, and the child is autistic. I cannot imagine how much pain that woman will go through, because it will just be coming from, even from the church that is supposed to be supportive. They might even be the first people to just crumble that person's life, and the person would never want to step foot in church anymore, all because of ignorance. I wouldn't say they know. It's ignorance that will make people handle people the wrong way. I think that's what we can do. Please, Ma, if you can share your story with us, and Miss Aisha shares her story with us, I can respin and spin stories out of this to enlighten people, because stories sell. Stories pass messages across to people very well. During Breast Cancer Awareness Month in October, I spinned a lot of stories about breast cancer. And when people see stories, they want to read, they want to get enlightened. Okay, this is what this is. I didn't know this existed. I didn't. In fact, somebody hosted me on a program for breast cancer, and she said, I'm hosting this program for the third time, and I have never learned about breast self-examination in the dimension Nurse Oni just explained it. So I believe different modalities, when you share your story with us, I will share with them, and I will spin other stories from it. We'll do our research. There's a lot of research to do, actually. We'll do our research, we'll spin more stories, and maybe we'll set aside a whole week or 2 weeks to doing this, so that we ourselves as health professionals, we even know what we should know. At least the little things we should know. We may not know everything that Mr. Ehe knows. We may not know everything you know, but at least enough to educate people. Because that's why we are here. That's why we are on this program, so that we will gain something new. Joy, Blessing Obialo is here. She's a writer. She and her sister, they are powerful writers. So I believe we can spin stories out of this program. Don't just drop off from this program and say, I went there, and they share their stories, and you end it. Maybe you just with your husband, and that will be the end of the whole thing. Please don't let it end here. Do everything. I know that Mr. Ayi has plans for us, and he will tell us how far we can still go after this program. Thank you, sir. That's what I wanted to share with us.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was worthwhile, especially the aspect of the story and putting a spin on the story and sensitizing people. The awareness doesn't stop here. We still have other awareness programs, training programs for teachers. We have for religious organizations, mosques. We plan to do for churches. We plan to do for politicians. We have all these plans all spanning into next year and the year beyond. So it's quite interesting that there are good writers among the nurses, and we will surely need your help with all these things. Thank you very much. Bumi, I want to still say thank you for coming on and sharing your story. And I also want to thank Aisha for sharing her story. It's been very, very, very enlightening. And I think people will resonate more with those stories than with the academic aspect of things. I tried yesterday not to be too academic about things, but to just try my possible best. But you guys coming on now and sharing your stories, it's more captivating. It touches a lot of things, even when people might not understand where to place them psychologically. It has resonated with us. Thank you very much. God bless you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Ma. God bless you. God continue to strengthen you.
Amen. We need it.
Thank you for the opportunity.
So, Ma, I have a question for you. So, your husband, is there I don't know how to put the question together. How do you feel? Is it like you're bearing the burden alone? Is there any program for him that's going to help him to get into the system? Like, for instance, I have there's a parenting group I am in, and most parenting groups are filled with women. Women are usually the first people interested in learning how to parent their children properly. Now, when you drag a man into that parenting group, it's like you're forcing them to come and learn something that is different from the way their mothers trained them. And they'll start grumbling. What is all this nonsense? Don't beat your child. Don't stand up. Don't sit down. Which one is all these rules? I will beat you. If I want to beat you, I will beat you anyhow. Nobody can come and tell me how to train my child. So it gets difficult to align I don't know whether you
It's not.
understand
It's
where I'm coming
interesting.
from.
Yes, I can't understand where you're coming from, and sometimes it takes balancing. I understand that my husband is not caught out, and when I say caught out, if he's got to do it, then he's got to do it. But sometimes, like, okay, an instance is that when my Oba was about 2 3 year old, and he was still wearing nappy, and and he will mess up his nappy, and I just thought, like I said, I'm vulnerable. I will think, okay, maybe with time he will come off. But my husband was quite strict with him. He was like, you can't continue to do this. And there were a bit of discipline that was involved. And he stopped. Honestly, I do not know how, but he stopped. And there's a bit of and sorry, I'm a Christian, but there's a fear that comes with the fatherhood. There is that father figure thing that if I say to Oba now, Oba, that's on his way, he will compose
Mm,
himself. However,
mm,
he's a like I said, this balancing. He will not go to meetings. He doesn't understand that side of thing. And I have fought with him. I've said to him, "We have to be in this thing together." But one thing in fact, this 2022, one thing I've said to myself is that I need all of that energy to support Oba. So I'm not even going to fight. If the things that he can do, I will take it as a plus. The ones that I
mm,
know I've taken it upon myself that this is my ministry. I'm not going to say it's my burden
mm,
because they are blessings. This is what God wants
mm,
me to do, and I'm going to take it on, head on. Like, I'm not even going to complain or ask it. If he was listening to me while I was at work,
mm,
attending a program on Zoom as well today,
mm,
and sometimes I just thought, and he said to me, "Oh, but me, when is the program the woman was talking about, so I can come along?" And I
mm,
said, okay, I'll let you know. But I'm not even gonna let conflict. Marriage is marriage. Things have happened the way it is.
mm,
And I'm not gonna get anything entangled that will even bring issue to my marriage. At this time, I need my head to be clear. I need to focus on my son.
mm,
I have a goal, and I'm not gonna let anything take that away from me. And that's the way that I have been able to manage it.
mm.
That's
Wow.
powerful, isn't it? I at this one. Bumi, once again, thank you. The spin on the way you have managed your child and your relationship with your spouse is also another aspect that we personally, in my sojourn with families, have experienced. I've been privileged to
Mm,
speak to families in America, in the UK, in Canada, in Nigeria, and some are brilliant. In fact, the home is broken because of that, because of the
mm,
child. You just imagine people who loved each other, they got married,
mm,
and at the end of the day, because you have a child with disability, it's for me, with my experience in working with a lot of them, maybe that's why I see it in a different light. I see human beings. I don't
mm,
see I don't see disability, um, because you go beyond just that what you see physically, or what you the symptoms you can see or experience, and you see the soul behind those symptoms, you see the soul behind those experiences. I remember I was discussing with some of my colleagues in the hospital ward, and they were putting up datas, when you do blood pressures and things like that, and they were putting up
Yeah.
datas. And I looked at the patient, I looked at the data, I said, the patient does not agree with this data. You say this patient is poorly, is sick, he's finished. I say, that's what the data is telling me, but I'm seeing somebody who is happy having a cup of tea. How does it correlate?
mm,
And I said
mm,
something that day to them. I said, look, behind every data you write in the hospital, remember, it's a human being.
mm,
Don't put the human being behind the data, put the human being before the data.
Yeah.
So when you're writing your data, ask yourself, does this data actually agree with what I can see. Observation is key when it comes to clinical practice. And I keep telling people the same thing when you work with people with autism, cerebral palsy, and every other thing. See the person first, see the human being first, because the disability does not define them. You cannot say somebody's hand is the whole person's body.
Yeah.
You can't say that. You can't say somebody's eyes. Once you see the eyes, say that's the whole of Adesua. That eyes alone.
Mhm.
Adesua has a head, has ears, has hands, and that's how it is. There are many aspects to somebody with who is experiencing disability or who has a disability. There are other aspects of their lives, and because we just see the disability, we judge them or based on that disability, and we peg them, we cap them, and we don't want to offer any support or anything. Let's see a human being rather than a disability. Um,
Yeah.
I would like to want to go into 1923. I will use 10 minutes on each. But before I do that, Aisha, do you have anything to add? Adeswa, do you have anything to add?
I just wanted to say quickly, sir, that this denial thing, I think it's normal for a lot of men because I think it's a woman's instinct to want to immediately respond to certain things in certain ways, especially when it involves their children. But then for men, there's always this, they will grow out of it or they will learn, or maybe because they are not being hard enough on them. And I think it's because of the way most men were brought up. They were brought up to see things in a different way than women see it. So if we want to judge our husband's attitude towards our children's disability, we will only spoil things. I think men will see it over time. You don't have to ring it in their ears. You just have to let them see it and let them understand. Because men hate to be told, so you'd rather show them. The more you say, don't see or can't you support, the more they feel like, waiting they do you. Like, is it such a big deal? Is it just such a big deal? But then you let them see it and they ease into it. I
Yeah,
think that's just one thing we need to understand.
yeah. You
I
have
want
that.
to say
You
thank
have a
you, sir, for this initiative and the opportunity to share freely.
Yeah, we thank God. We thank God. Adesua, anything that you want to add?
No, 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 sir.
All right. I will just sweep into still it's still a continuation of this. So by the time we are looking at these scenarios that we're going to look at now, you will see some of the things Bumi has said, some of the things Aisha has said, and some of the things that Desu has said. You probably will see them filter. Maybe 50%, 20%, I don't know. But some of them, as they were speaking, they also were some things that will be addressed in the scenarios. Adesua must have shared certain scenarios with you guys, and those scenarios basically, if you've gone through it, fine. If you've not, it's still fine. I will just go through the scenarios now, and we would read it out and try and see how we can address it. The first scenario I have here is about about autism. I combined the autism and the learning disability scenario together, and when we look at it, we will try to explore everything that they have talked about within this scenario. We might not touch on all, but whatever the scenario presents is the way we are going to address it. Um, um, the first scenario is about autism and learning disability. Nurse Dele resumed for an early shift at 7:30 a.m. On entering the ward, he found 4 nursing staff surrounding Emeka. Emeka was seated exhausted on the ground. He was clearly upset. The environment was noisy. There were splatters of blood on the ground. Apparently, Emeka just had a meltdown, attacking himself, staff, and other patients in his pathway. Emeka is an autistic adult and with emotional behavior disorder. He is diabetic and has an history of shortness of breath. If you were Nurse Daly, what will be your approach to supporting Emeka, or what will you suggest the team do to clinically support Emeka? And this scenario was generated just to tease out some of the experiences we would probably face as nurses if you're working in a setting with people with neurodiverse condition. So you have a patient with a neurodiverse condition like autism or learning disability in your ward, and you come on shift and this happens. When you look at that scenario, as a nurse, the first thing is you want to analyze what you have observed. You want to analyze what you have observed. So the tendency is you want to call one of the nurses, what has happened? Why is Emeka upset? Why is there blood on the ground? Emeka looks is out of breath. What is happening? First of all, the nurses were standing around Emeka. So they were not attending to him because Emeka was clearly upset. So the first thing, if you find yourself in such a situation, is basically you want to calm the nerves of Emeka. And there is a method we use, basically, it's called a simple distraction method. Or basically the 4 nurses that were surrounding Emeka, they have upset him, or probably they become a target of upset, and he's seen their faces, so he's not allowing them to clinically support him. So the tendency is you use what we call a change of face strategy. You want to bring another nurse into the scene that has not been in the scene before, and Dele just walked in. So what I will suggest is Dele, take charge, lead the way. So we'll expect Dele to look at that situation and say, Emeka, will you like a cup of tea? Will you like a glass of water? Or will you like Coke? Do you want something that is entirely different from all the pressure that has been happening? And so what happens is, in my experience, most of the time, those distraction and change your face strategy works perfectly well. So Emeka generally will look at Dele as, this is different from the others. Let me take his lead. And so Emeka will probably follow Dele. They sit down somewhere else. He gives him a cup of tea or gives him something that he's asked him to have. And they sit down. He lets him sip his cup of tea or sip his water, whatever it is, and just give it time for him to calm down. In the process of doing that, you want to now switch into your, what is the care plan? When Emeka is agitated, what is in his care plan? How do we help him? Follow it. Either you follow the care plan. Another thing you probably want to do is you want to start looking at his medical history. Emeka has diabetics, is short of breath. So you want to look why they don't know what has triggered Emeka's behavior. Because he's diabetic, as a nurse, you start thinking loud. Because he's diabetic, you want to now start looking at, okay, is he suffering from hypoglycemia or hyperglycemia? You want to look at that. And so what you do is, okay, let's check your blood sugar. Probably in the process of checking the blood sugar, you see why he's exhausted. If it doesn't show why he's exhausted, it probably be showing that his sugar level is really experiencing an hypoglycemia situation or an hyperglycemia. From experience, I've seen a lot of autistic people when they are diabetic and they start having high blood pressure. I mean, they start having high blood sugar in their blood. The tendency is they become erratic. The reason is that because of the impairments of the triad, they don't understand what is going on in the system. And so the only way they can react is probably get upset. And when you stand in their way, when they get upset, you become a target of upset. And so they probably will launch at you. I've been privileged to work with a lad who had diabetics. He was very hyper at that point. And during that period, it was a night shift, and he started damaging everywhere, basically. And so he was removing radiators from the wall. You know, in Nigeria, you have ACs. In the UK, here, we have radiators to generate heat in the house. And he pulled out radiators, pulled out windows, pulled out. Man, it was just, and we went on that trip for 5 hours trying to manage that challenging behavior. I happened to be the one team leading that night, and it was exhausting. And so I told everybody, back out. Take the audience away from him. We took the audience away from him. He did a few damages of properties, then he calmed down. There was nobody to play to the gallery. He calmed down. After he calmed down, his sugar level dropped drastically. He started panting. Then what did we do? We just basically checked his sugar level. After checking his sugar level, it was low. And so we had to give him some glucose to get the sugar level up. And you want to have your insulin by your side, because once that sugar level hits the roof again, you want to control it. So basically, we decided to go down that way. And I now draw that experience into this. Since Emeka was basically sitting on the ground, exhausted, I want to look his medical history. He's diabetic. I want to check that and tick the box off. I want to check his diabetic level. I want to check his shortness of breath. Because he experiences shortness of breath, you want to look at his resps. You want to look at his saturation levels, whether it is above 96% or it's below 96%. You want to also probably check his blood pressure, because you want to know what the circulations is doing in the system. If the blood circulation, remember, blood circulation has oxygen in them. So if you want to check that, you want to know whether there's enough oxygen in the blood. So you check his saturation level, check his blood pressure, whether circulation is flowing round basically the way it should be. We know blood pressure should be 120/80, but for everyone it is different. So as long as he's meeting his baseline, you don't want to upset the system. So you have dealt with it on a clinical level, but you also must deal with it on the social level. So you want to do what we call debriefing. You want to debrief Emeka. You want to debrief the other 4 nurses, because they probably have been exhausted and they have been they are tired of the whole challenging situation, and you want to debrief them and make sure that they are all right before they go home. Also, in the medical history of Emeka, you have the issue of emotional behavior disorder. So you want to also address that aspect. EBD is something that you can't really spot. People who have it, suddenly they can just switch modes. Suddenly they can just switch modes and they can become very, very, very emotional. And emotions can either run on the aggressive end or it runs on the very depressive end. And so you want to make sure you check that aspect, and you want to monitor him throughout the day to make sure that he's medically okay, and that in terms of his behavioral expressions, he's effectively supported. In that process, a key thing that stands out is communication. You must learn to listen to him because he has something to say. You must not talk over him. No matter how you think you are an expert, or you are a practitioner, or you are the medical practitioner, or whatever you are, the patient must be listened to. Your listening skills must be very perfect. You must be able to listen to what Emeka is saying. You must be, and probably in listening to what Emeka is saying, you will be able to trigger a lot of things out of it. And that is very, very important. When I look at that scenario again, how would I address it? Basically, you want to make sure the issues of his self-injurious behavior, because there was splatters of blood, you want to address that aspect also. How did it come about, splatters of blood? Was it his blood? Was it one of the staff's blood? If it is one of the staff's blood, you want to address it. If it's not one of the staff's blood, you want to address it. And so you could be bordering on the line of what we call health and safety. Was there any reason why blood happened? If it was self-injurious behavior, how did we let it get to that point where a maker started attacking and getting people injured? And so what we normally do in this setting when working with people with neurodiverse conditions, and if they are autistic and on the low spectrum, they are nonverbal, they have issues with communication, what you want to do is, before an incident occurs, you want to nip it on the bud. So you have a scale that you work with. So basically, you want to be on a green scale. You don't want it to escalate to a red scale. And so the moment you start spotting signs of agitation, signs of aggression, that's the time you can introduce your distraction method, and not wait for it to escalate and cause all that drama that you will have to now start mopping up and writing lots of paperwork to address it. And for me, that's the way I would address that kind of scenario. The second scenario we have here is on dementia. And on this dementia scenario, basically, it's a typical scenario, but they have introduced some other things into it that will juggle the experience, juggle the knowledge of the nurse. And this is why I said yesterday, as a nurse, you must be very knowledgeable in your field, whatever field it is. This scenario is dementia. It says Abdul is a 65 years old patient. Recently, he was diagnosed of Alzheimer's disease. His wife, Tamuno, brought him to a clinic review appointment. The doctor had prescribed donepezil hydrochloride 10 milligram tablet once daily. Despite the use of the medication over a period of time, Abdul is still in state of progressive decline with Alzheimer's disease. Nurse Ngozi, who happens to be district nurse primarily responsible for Abdul's care and treatment, thinks the dosage of the drug needs to be increased. In your opinion, do you agree with Nurse Ngozi? And what other treatment pathways do you think Abdul and his family will benefit from? From my experience, the way you address such issues with dementia, especially Alzheimer's disease, you must first of all know what the disease is all about. Like yesterday, we discovered that Alzheimer's is the disease and dementia is a word that has a lot of diseases under it, like vascular dementia, Alzheimer's, and others. But this is Alzheimer's disease, and Alzheimer's is a progressive decline of the brain. It affects the memory and the functionality of the person on every front of activities of daily living. It affects the planning, it affects decision making, and because it does all that, we want to address those issues. But what is most common here is that he's just been diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. 2, he's on donepezil, 10 milligram. Donepezil hydrochloride is one of the maintenance medications they use to treat dementia. It does not actually treat the dementia or cure it. It stabilizes them and helps them to be able to think, helps them to be able to juggle their memory, helps them to be able to plan and make decision making. All those things that the disease takes away from them, it helps them to be able to try and get it back, or it helps them to delay the decline of the disease. So they are diagnosed with Alzheimer's, they give them donepezil. It will help them to manage the speed at which the disease declines their brain, basically. So what happens is the nurse who happens to be a district nurse, which is a specialist area, is telling you that I think the doctor needs to increase the donepezil. If peradventure the doctor increases the donepezil, you as a nurse, you are the one caring for him, and you give him that donepezil of maybe 20 milligram, increase from 10 milligram to 20 milligram, then you probably would have caused more problems for Abdul. The reason is because donepezil is only prescribed at 10 milligram. At least from our own perspective here, nobody gets more than 10 milligram. They start them with 5 milligram for like a month, then they give them 10 milligram continuously, and they monitor them. Now, basically, your boss has said it should be increased. You are not knowledgeable about that. You pick it up and you say, oh, they prescribe 20 milligram, I'll give it. But on the research front, they are telling you it's 10 milligram. And so you are not privy to that information. So basically, side effects of donepezil, you could probably escalate the side effects, which causes dizziness, causes shortness of breath and things like that. And so you don't want to go down that route. So basically, I don't think they need to increase the dosage. I think they still need, since he's declining, they just need to keep him on that 10 milligram and now introduce conservative therapies to help him to live a dignified life. Remember, I told you yesterday, dementia is a terminal disease. It leads a long-term disease that you manage until the person gets to end of life. So basically, on this scenario, the way we as nurses would probably address it is keep him on the 10 milligram, monitor his activities of daily living, give him all the care and attention he needs, treat him as a human being, get a memory box for him, flip through his pictures, get a memory box. Whenever he needs his memory box, open it for him, let him look at it. Maybe it could joggle his memory. Put pictures of his past profession. Maybe he was an engineer or probably he was a military personnel and he had pictures. Put those pictures around his house. Let him be able to see those pictures. He might through those pictures joggle his memory. He may not. Give him a dignified life. He will need massive support because he's declining. And so he will need massive support. And that is the only route I personally would advise for somebody with this kind of scenario. If you have any questions, then you could pop it in the comments. Once we get them, we can try and answer them. Over to you, Adesua. Is Adesua there? Hello.
Thank you so much, sir. God bless you. Sorry, I'm just coming down from work,
Oh,
trying to
yes.
get home.
Oh,
So my
bless you.
network, but I've been listening all through. I've been listening to you. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. God bless you. I really love those two scenarios you brought up.
Cute.
Heavy-hearted one. Like end of life care is not easy. And when I see nurses that's in intensive care in the intensive care nursing, out specialize in end of life care, out specialize in oncology. I pathetic enough. We are not going there for the money, because if you are going there for the money, shock you. You will not feel that job satisfaction, because your drive, your passion for getting into that space, right? So a lot of for this kind of, for special needs generally, people that care for them need to have, and it goes to every one of us actually as nurses. We need to be more empathetic. We know that a lot of factors prevail upon us, but still, so at some point we might be the only link that our patients have to the opportunity to truly live again. Please drop your questions. I'm waiting for your questions. We'll soon roll up the program. Right. So if we have any questions, please drop them. So from this second scenario that you talked about, Alzheimer's, it's a new one for me. Years of experience as a nurse, I've never really had to say, okay, the closest I've been is just ICU care, and that was just for, it wasn't so intensive. I was pregnant, so and then my facility went on strike at some point, so I didn't really have the opportunity to have the full spectrum of the experience. But sincerely, I've learned a lot, and it's basically, if we don't take anything from this, we should take away the fact that nobody is excluded. Yes, this program is for nurses. It's supposed to be involved. Everybody is supposed to be involved in the care of people with special needs. Everybody's supposed to be enlightened. Everybody's supposed to be educated about these things. So, because ignorance will make you keep doing the wrong things, taking the wrong decisions. In the scenario Mr. Irie talked about, that he was a team lead on that particular shift when that patient was pulling out the radiator for the heating system. I was trying to put myself in that situation, and I was like, Adeso, what would you have done if this happened and it's your shift? Maybe you are the professional with the highest qualification on duty, so there's actually no one else to look up to but yourself and God. What would you have done? And there's a question I want to go out to everyone now. I can see 22 people watching live. I want you to ask yourself, if I have somebody that depends on me 100%, maybe the person is autistic, or the person has dementia or Alzheimer's, or whatever it is, if everything was dependent on me, will I give it my best shot? That's one question I want all of us to go on with, because we cannot live with the mindset that that kokomi mentality is not my business. I don't. In fact, some of us even have the audacity to beat our children in the morning when they wake up. Maybe if one child maybe is on his or her body now, I'll flog you. I'll shake it. sometimes we forget to be thankful that this child even has a urinary system. Like you don't have to change a urine bag for that child. Like there's actually a lot to be thankful to God for that we always forget. We always forget. So what I want us to take away from this program is don't forget. And don't forget to be empathetic. Don't forget to learn what you need to learn so that you would know what to do in challenging situations like this. And I don't know who may be listening to me tonight. If you are a figure, if you are a public figure, or in church you have a platform, or you have the opportunity to speak with people, please use, even if it's 5 minutes, to share with people what you have gained tonight, because you don't know whose life will be impacted. That's good word you said. Like Mr. Ari said, that part on the back maybe just what that person needs. I remember when I was working in special care baby units, SCBU. I'm not a pediatric nurse, but I was posted there. As per when you're working in federal with the government in Nigeria, they can post you anywhere. So I was posted there. When I got there, I was angry. I was unhappy. I told my husband, I don't like pediatric nursing. I like a situation where I'll have to watch a child cry helplessly, and there's hardly anything you can do to help. But by the time I worked there for 3 months, 4 months, I had adjusted so well. I already loved the system. It was a busy one, very busy one. There is no day you get to work that you don't heave a sigh of relief, like, we have arrived again. It was crazy. It was not easy, but I began to fall in love with your system, watching those preterm babies try to fight for their lives every day, having to measure fluids, measure feeds, sing to them, empathize. There are some babies that will be put on new per oral for 2 days, for 24 hours, for 3 days. Okay, nothing goes into this baby's mouth, and this baby wants to eat, and this baby is crying away his or her lungs, like the whole world cannot hear anything because this baby is crying, and this baby is on IV fluid. And sometimes you'll be like, God, and I have a baby at home that is eating away, and we are crying, God, where will we get money to buy naan? Where will we get money to buy this? And you don't even remember to be thankful. As in, you are so carried away with your own small problem that you forget that some people are even praying for your problem. Like, they are open to God to own your problem. So I want us to go on with that. Okay, we didn't get any question. So I think it's fit for us to close the program. Mr. Eri, Mr. Agberi, is there anything else you want to say?
Nothing really. All I just want to say is thank you, everybody, for taking time out of your busy schedule to attend this program. We do appreciate it. Without you, we cannot do the awareness. And so we really appreciate it. We still have other awarenesses to do throughout this year into next year. And if you can help, we will. Every help matters to us. We want to change the outlook of disability in the continent of Africa, and we want to start from one of the greatest countries in Africa, which is Nigeria. I love this country. I love Nigeria so much, and I know that we can do better than what we are doing now. Together, we can change the face of disability in the country. No matter how people believe in cultural differences, witchcraft, whatever they believe in, we can still change it. It will start from me and you. So thank you once again for attending, and we do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. This has been a very amazing one, and one that we can everyone for taking out your special time. Um, you to our mothers that shared with us. It's nothing like experience comes to read the textbook to you shared with us, and we can never estimate the value of what we have gotten. Everyone, so I round of the session. Father, so much. We thank you for this opportunity. We thank you for those things we usually. We say be thou exalted. Is neuro care. Give them the ability organize programs like, and more ignorance will be part of the country. Lord, let your light ignorance be banished and let people operate from the name. Amen.
Amen.
It's good to see you, Nurse Olubio. Thank you, Nurse Ayelabola. Oh God. Many nurse. And on the what, so they will be answered. So I can end the meeting now. This is exactly to everyone. Thank you, Agapo. God blessed. Thank you, sir. Mr. Ehi. So we are ending the session now.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.